Are you registered to vote?
Unfortunately, a lot of young people have that perspective. And if they came together and voted, it would actually make a really big difference.
Voting is just one way to be engaged. That's civic engagement, being involved in the political process.
At Missouri State University, we have the Public Affairs mission, community engagement, ethical leadership, and cultural competence. Voting directly applies to all three of these pillars. In fact, our Public Affairs Support Office is right behind us in our library.
Pause to the Polls is an initiative at Missouri State University. Our goal is to help promote educated voting, and we're wanting to help promote voting, period.
Pause the Polls is a grassroots movement about voter education at MSU, and I'm excited to be part of it because I know that as a part of this group, my voice is being heard, and I get to encourage other people to go out and be the change that they want to see in the world.
Growing up, I always went to the polls with my mother. We immigrated to this country because it wasn't safe where we lived anymore. We came here as refugees, pretty much. It wasn't until I saw and learned about a lot of different social justice issues that directly impacted me and how I felt about things that I finally felt that it was time for me to speak up. And that's when I started to vote.
If you're 18 and a U.S. citizen, you can vote. Before 1971, you had to wait until you were 21 to vote. In the 1960s, student activism was at its peak, mostly because of the Vietnam War and the fact that 18, 19, and 20-year-olds could be drafted into the military but could not vote in our elections. Their voices were not being heard. The slogan that helped get the 26th Amendment passed, which expanded voting rights to those 18 and older, was, "Old enough to fight, old enough to vote."
Down through the years, I've seen numerous images and documentaries about the groundwork that Blacks have made in order to vote. As a young Black woman, I find it extremely important to honor the lives and strides made by the people before me by using my right to vote.
By voting, I am able to express my agreement or disagreement on the topics that directly affect me and my community.
Did you know only between 50 and 60% of U.S. citizens vote in our presidential elections? The United States has low voter turnout compared to most other countries that have democratically elected representatives. Here in Missouri, between 2002 and 2018, our November general elections turnout ranged between 34% and 68%. Let me give you an example from the 2018 midterm election. This is when we elect our senators and representatives, often both at the state and federal level. About 229 million citizens in the United States were eligible to vote. How many were registered to vote? About 153 million, or 67% of those eligible. But only a little over half voted in these important elections. About 122 million, or 53% of those who could have voted. And this was a high number for a midterm election. Why wasn't it closer to 100%, with everyone who can vote actually voting? In 2018, there were almost 27 million U.S. citizens between the ages of 18 and 24, and just under half of them were registered to vote. And only 32% of them actually voted. Again, that was higher than normal voter turnout for the U.S. It means that a relatively small percent of people decide on important things for all of us: our healthcare, college tuition, environmental regulations, gun safety, and more. In March of this year, we had elections in Greene County. Only 23.5% of the population voted.
Local elections are really basically the foundation that everything gets built upon. So that's when you're driving down the street, that's the roads that you see, the buildings that you pass, the schools that you go into. That's everything around you.
The people who have the highest voting rates in the U.S. are over 45, and it's even higher over 65. Do you really want boomers voting for you and making decisions that affect your future?
I always think it's funny when people my age make jokes about boomers and older citizens. They definitely do have a different way of viewing life than we do. But I also think that it's a sad irony that our generation has so much to say, but we have no one to vouch for our cries, to see life as we experience it, and have someone who cares enough to make a change in the world that we have to experience firsthand.
Taking part in our political process is made even easier for us at MSU. If you're registered here in Greene County, you can vote right on campus, one of the 4 central polling locations in Springfield, thanks mainly to the actions of a former MSU student. There have been elections won or lost by only one vote. Think about that. Your vote is your voice.
We'll be back, as you'll see, with voting info for both you and me. Get involved, it feels right. You'll be helping us to shine the light. Find your voice, make it heard, make a difference. show you care. That's the best way to show us just how to be an MSU bear. Da 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 da.
Interested in participating? Contact us at pausethepolls@missouristate.edu or watch for us on campus.